I just remember there's a button I had to push, and I just pushed it. So anyway, that'll be good for anybody that wants to participate. So I know the information went out on the Facebook page. I can get a formal PIO announcement, but we'll get there. Anyway, I appreciate everyone participating. This would be a good meeting. We've got a lot of good news to button I had to push. All right, that'll be good. I'll get feedback here. Wants to participate. So I know the information on okay, killed that. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway, okay. Well, let's get to the agenda. We've got a lot of good stuff to cover today. Jennifer Bragg introduced herself earlier. We brought her on as our Greenway subject matter expert. The other week, participating in various reviews and other things, and other meetings like this. On our behalf, Jennifer, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Jennifer Bragg, I've got 25 years in the transportation industry, designing transportation projects, including greenways. Some of you may recognize me. I was involved with the Richland PDT from 2014 to 2017. So I have crossed paths with a few of you, and I'm happy to be here to represent the county and help y'all out as you work through Greenway projects.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate that. All right. Next, I'd like to get in. Yeah, go ahead.
Can Jennifer speak a little bit to what Greenway project she's been involved with?
Sure. Several of the Greenway projects obviously involve, because a lot of greenways are tied in with other roadway projects. But when I was on the transportation penny program, I did manage several of the Greenway projects and was involved with some of the ones y'all are working through with the Gills Creek, some of the other sidewalk and pedestrian projects. I had the ones over on Polo Road, Alpine, sidewalk project on Sunset. So I've had involvement in several. Looked at some of the Three Rivers, worked on a little bit of those as well throughout the history. And then my experience on other projects, like I said, a lot of greenways are tied in with much larger projects due to funding sources. So I've got significant experience with greenways that cross DOT roadways, where they're parallel to streams going under roads, that type of thing. I mentioned to Allison when I was talking to her, one thing I like about big projects is they typically have the funding in place. The problem with greenways is everybody thinks greenways can be done with minimal funding. So they're actually a lot tougher because you're designing projects to minimize impacts to the natural environment, which includes trees, wetlands, stream crossings, you name it. So they actually are harder to do than a big widening project, but more fun. And you tend to get a lot more input on them.
Jennifer, we haven't met you before. We've been on this, I'm Carol Kasowski. I've been on this Greenway Advisory Committee ever since its inception. We haven't met you, and we certainly need your expertise. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
If everybody would mute, their phones, we would have a lot less background noise. It's in some cases really hard to hear. So please mute if you can.
Thanks, Quentin. Okay, well, let's go jump into our project updates. We have 3 that we're going to talk about today. We got Gills Creek, Smith Rocky, Crane, and then Three Rivers. I'm going to let Jeff McNesby, the project manager for Gills Creek, give everybody an update on that one.
Good morning, everybody. So Gills Creek, as a reminder, is broken into 3 phases. The first phase, we call it phase 2, runs from B Cliffs Drive to McKell Lane. Phase 3 runs from Fort Jackson Road to B Cliff Drive. And phase 4 is going to run from McKell Lane up to Timber Lane Drive. As it stands, we are currently in negotiations with our consultant to update phases 2 and 3 to reduce the pathway width from 14 feet down to 12 feet. The reason behind that is that we are looking at potential cost savings of a little bit under $1 million to reduce the width of that pathway. Now, to realize that savings, we're going to have to spend additional design money to backtrack, make some changes to the current design, and then move that forward to construction plans. And that's going to run us approximately $174,000. So what we are currently doing is we're trying to confirm all the facts, run that off the ladder, get confirmation that yes, we can spend that money to ultimately save money during construction. There are some other items we're looking at, including in phase 2, removing a section of the pathway from the B Cliff connector up to phase 3. Again, that is another cost savings to us. We are finally looking at phase 4, which, as I said earlier, will take us from McKell Lane to Timber Lane Drive. So potentially what we're going to see with approval of all 3 scopes is for phases 2 and 3 to move forward as one. And phase 4 is going to be delayed just because it's at 0% right now. And we'll have to go through the entire design process to get that ready for construction. But again, once we have the design approved, it shouldn't take too long to get phases 2 and 3 to construction plans. That's pretty much is it. Let me know if you have any questions.
I have a question about the tree planting project at Timber Lane, because I suspect that it is important for you to connect with the folks who are working on that tree planting project. Is Clayton Voyner involved with you, Jeff? Have you been working with him? Because I suspect that when you look at phase 4, and I know phase 4 isn't on the drawing boards just yet, but it will be. So I think it's important that that tree planting project, which is being done under CDBG MIT money, be connected with your design work. And so that's my question for you.
We will certainly look at coordinating with any, with the city of Columbia, with any organization as we move this project forward. Again, there's a lot of history involved in Gills Creek that's been going on for several years. So all those previous discussions and other associated or non-related projects, we do have to coordinate with all those groups to make sure that we're moving together as a team, as opposed to independently and negatively impacting each other's work.
Right. Well, I mentioned Clayton Voyner because he's with the county and he's the lead for the county. So, and there's some 12 houses or so, that have been demolished, and there will be tree planting occurring there at Timber Lane. The City of Columbia also has property there, and it's both City of Columbia and Richland County that have properties that have been demolished and under CDBG MIT money are needing to be returned to the natural state. So that's why I bring that up, is because it's a major tree planting effort.
And that's definitely a good point. Again, the damages that occurred to 2015 have been slow to roll out with federal and state money to, in many cases, remove those homes. I did some work on that one when I was working in Lexington County. And I know part of that was with the removal of the trees. I believe my understanding is that Richland County is going to take ownership of their parcels, or they have taken ownership of those parcels. And a part of that plan has been to try to reestablish it into a natural floodplain through the planting of trees. So yeah, so you make a very valid point, and we will coordinate with Clayton as we move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to add to that, coordinating sooner rather than later would be good, just touching base with him because we've already been in conversation and begun talking about how that might move forward. So probably checking in soon would be good. My other question relating to Timberlane is part of your plan in addressing that phase 4 to coordinate with SCDOT in the use of Timberlane itself as the pathway?
I know there's been some initial discussions on how that's going to occur. I've had some conversations with Holt concerning what was the previous plan, what was occurring before this left the PDT and came back in-house in transportation. And I know that is going to be part of the discussion. My understanding was initially, again, you don't really know how that layout's going to look until you get deeper into the design. But no, initially it was going to be incorporated in the roadway as you or suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, one other thing, Allison brought up a good point. One of the part I thought was being removed to save money was the Bee Cliff connector. And I know the pile on the tree planting thing, I remember it mentioned before, we kind of talked about it internally. Who's going to be the point on that? Is that Nancy or Clayton or Nancy or Quentin?
Is Quentin on board? Quentin, are you involved with that at this point, or is that strictly Clayton involved?
No, my understanding was that Nancy was the point person, and we're also working with Clayton and other planning CP&D staff to get the plan together and get it approved through the administrative process. However, Clayton, is typically the one that deals with administration. So in terms of administration, he's the point person. In terms of getting all the plan together and getting the whole thing moving, I thought Nancy was the point person.
And so I am for a few more weeks, and then it will be probably on Quentin's shoulders.
Does everyone know that Nancy has announced her retirement for the end of this month?
No.
Well, she has, much to our great chagrin on the Conservation Commission, but she has, grandchildren are calling her, and she has many years of service. And so she has announced her retirement at the end of this month.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to avoid that.
Okay, well.
So Michael, going back to Bee Cliff, because Allison raised it also, I would like a little bit more clarity on, I'm not sure whether y'all are saying that maybe it's going to be eliminated or it is going to be eliminated. And if it's uncertain, how's that decision going to be made?
I think the plan was, as part of that reduction, was to remove it.
Okay,
So,
that would be excellent. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
and like Jeff said, I know even since June, we're talking about negotiations with the OET, but just the de-scoping, re-scoping, and really formalizing has taken a little bit longer, but I think we're pretty close to getting that service order completed and in place, so we can deliberately move out on it. So
I have one last question, because I think it's a pretty big issue, and it's not something that had really begun to be dealt with very well before. How and when will easements for the right-of-way for the Greenway be dealt with? There are many city and county parcels that this greenway would go through, but there are a number of private properties, some of which are in the city and some of which are in the county. And the city, of course, has said it would manage a greenway that went through the city. So that's sort of a complex issue that, to me, I'm concerned about how it's being addressed, I guess.
I think what we previously discussed with the city was they're going to provide the documentation needed to get the easements, and then we'll go out and secure those easements for the project.
What about with private property owners and like a couple of developments and Midlands Tech and Bilo? Well, Bilo's a different, I guess that's phase, no, that's phase, is that phase 2? That's phase 2, I believe.
It's the same thing, Valerie. We'll get the easement paperwork from the city, and we'll go out and use agents or our own agent with Public Works to get the property required.
Okay. You make it sound easy.
Words
Okay,
are.
and I guess we've already coordinated with Gail. That's based on what her response was to you, Michael?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
It was discussed at some point along the way, and obviously we'll formalize it and get specifically what's required to her, and then she can
Okay,
get that paperwork for us. Okay.
great. Okay, thanks.
Yep. There you go.
Thank you.
All right. Anything? Oh, and just as a thank you to the city and planning and development and former John Fellows, who has moved on to the cold north in Wisconsin, getting the administrative adjustment of his trail standards formally done once and for all, so we can stop talking about it for the trail width as well as the material waiver. So appreciate that. Let's just cross our fingers that if we do that again, it's just as smooth and easy. So we're all good there. Moving on, Smith Rocky Branch Greenway, Rashid, you on?
Yes, Michael, I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you just give us a quick update?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Rashid Milwaukee. I'll be the project manager from the county for the Smith Rocky Branch Greenway project. Just a quick update. We have approved a service order with the OET, and we should be issuing the OET the notice to proceed hopefully within the next week to begin the design work. As you all know, we will only move forward with section C of the project, and section C will begin will start near the intersection of Horton Street and Gervais Street. It will move through 5 Points to Maxey Gragg Park and continue through the campus of the University of South Carolina to the intersection near Assembly Avenue and Florida Street. And then it will proceed along the Rocky Branch to Granby Park. Do I have any questions?
Who's the design team, Rashid?
The design team is hold on. I gotta check.
Sorry, what was the question?
Who is
She
the-
asked about the design team.
Both Holt?
Oh yeah, it's Holt. Holt, this is the design team. Sorry about that.
And remind us how much money there is for this?
This has a total of, okay, so initially, it's going to be 431,000 going to section A, 1.4 million going to, also it's a total of 2.7 million. But as I said, that's taking funds from section A and C and moving it all. I mean, from A and B and moving it all to C. So it has a total of 2.7 million.
Yeah, so that section C that he talks about, which really only had the 901,122, is giving
Right.
the majority from the other two sections we're not doing. So that C is just from the Olympia Park to Granby Park Greenway, past the quarry, past Granby Mills, and that section that floods real well.
So it's not going through Maxi Greg.
Yeah, that's correct. I did correct you on that one. Yeah, it's just section C.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's easy to confuse if you're depending on what you're looking at. But yeah, B is B is a section that went through Maxi Greg, and so this is section C. So hopefully we'll have be planned as such, and there'll be more than enough to do that project right. People interested in that one too. Anything else on Smith Rocky? Anyone?
Sorry, one more. What's the total length of section C?
Oh, jeez. Pull up the
Cover
service
them.
order on that one. Yeah.
I know it's over a mile. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
It says 1.7 miles.
Yeah. Okay.
I got my cheat sheet up, Rashid. Sorry.
No problem, Michael. Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else. Moving on. Mohammed has Crane Creek Greenway, and where we are with that.
Okay, hello everyone. That's Mohammed Al-Tofan from Richland County Transportation. So for Crane Creek Greenway Section B, and just as a background, we say Section B because we transfer the fund from Sections A and C to Section B. This project will consist approximately of 4,895 linear feet of boardwalk. That means City of Columbia standards. And the project will begin at Canal Front Park and will end at Mountain Drive. That's S798. The trail alignment will generally follow inside of the City of Columbia sewer easement. And we just heard from the city that following this easement will need the city council approval. So we may need to follow up with the city about the approval to follow up the easement. This sidewalk also has a greenway, a vehicular pedestrian bridge over Smith Branch and boardwalks, and it will have covered railroad crossing and a trail that extends along the City of Columbia sewer easement. So the current state of the project, we received some comments from City of Columbia on the scope, and we sent them to the on-call engineering team to be addressed. Next steps is to address the city comments and then finalize the scope of work. And then we receive fees, design fees from the OET, negotiate the fees, and then develop a service order to start the final phase of the design. And this phase should take the project from the concept phase to the 100 full design drawings. Are there any questions?
So will there be opportunity for this committee and the community to comment on the design plans before it gets to 100%? And do we have anybody here from Crane Creek on this committee? And same thing for Rocky Branch. Do we have any representatives here?
Yeah, actually we didn't get with the Crane Creek committee, so we may follow up on this.
And Nancy, I think that the intent is always, as now that all of the preliminary has been done, the city is implemented, and those comments are integrated into the scope. We can get to that, that concept developed and have that public meeting like the program typically did to get public input. I know there was public input provided back in January of 19. Bunch of folks attended and they talked about the different sections, what the comments looked like. So I imagine since the project's been necked down to the one section, there'll be other opportunity for any comment. I got a feeling you're gonna be keeping an eye on things and gonna be, but you live across the river. Okay.
Yeah, as Mr. Nimar said, that we will have a public meeting within this scope.
It would just be nice to know that there's someone from the surrounding community that the Greenway is going to be going through that is involved in this committee and sort of keeping eyes on it as it goes forward. I don't know if you all have anyone, know of anyone who cares or is involved, but maybe you need to reach out and find someone who can represent that area on this committee.
Yeah, Valerie, I know Nancy, as we were trying to clean up the invite list, had asked about a group and had tried to find a contact. But hey, Brian, if you're still on, maybe you have some homeowner associations or some community contacts in that area that you might be able to help us out with.
I can get you guys a list of at least the neighborhood leadership in that area, if that would be helpful, just from the city, city neighborhoods perspective.
That'd be great, Lucinda. I appreciate it.
Well, for the Smith Branch, Rocky Branch, first of all, it's Rocky Branch, so that the Granby neighborhood or from the city would be interested. So would the Whaley neighborhood from the city. And since you're going to concentrate on that section C, and also the Olympia Neighborhood Association and I think the Olympia Homeowners Association are still active. So of those four organizations, I'm sure somebody from the city and somebody from the county that, is engaged in that process would be ready to go. I still get confused, but actually Crane Creek is really Smith Branch. So it's going through county neighborhoods. And I think that the two county neighborhoods certainly would be Riverview Terrace and Arden Capel. And they're pretty active. So those two county neighborhoods, I think, would be the closest and most affected. So if you went back to the county organization, they should be able to jump in and comment.
Yeah, we'll make sure, and any assistance is helpful. We can pass that along to the project managers and then to the OETs. So, particularly, we'll step it up when we get into the approaching these public meetings. We can make sure we have the appropriate folks at the table that can come in and say what they need to say. So, I appreciate that. Anything else on Crane Creek? Okay, last but not least, Kim Tony with the update from Three Rivers Greenway, which is a very active and live project at the moment. But go ahead and give everybody an update if you would, please.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. Three Rivers Greenway, or some know it as Saluda River Walk, is as well as everyone knows, it has been constructed for the last year and is actually in use despite not open to the public. And with that, we are trying our very best to get everything turned over to the city so that they can maintain and operate the Greenway as is designed. So with that being said, right now we are in the process of getting as-built surveys to the city. There are a few things that have come up that we need to iron out with the city as far as some survey information. So as soon as that is resolved, we can turn that over that portion, and we've taken the project and broken it into 2 sections. The section that most people see right now and use, what we're calling this phase 1A. And that section, of course, is complete. And that way they can take that, the city can fully operate that and maintain that, and it will be open to the public. While that is being done, phase 1B is the connection that begins near the zoo, the end of the zoo parking lot, and will go to Boyd Island. So the Boyd Island connection is our connection or connector. What we're calling phase 1B is yet to be constructed, but we hope to have that done as early as 2021. So that's where we stand on that. Does anybody?
When are the as-bills going to be submitted to the city? I was asked that question yesterday.
Right. So there's an issue with the as-built. The city and the county has agreed on doing the survey to include 10 foot of each on each side of the trail. However, the city and Riverbank Zoo has a lease agreement that states differently. So in order to portray that correctly, we need to make a decision on what is the actual width on each side going to be. So the zoo needs to discuss that internally, and then also they need to work it out with the city. So we can talk more offline about that, but that's one of the hangups. If not, if that's resolved, then it should be turned over to you very quickly.
Hey, Dana, Mike Dawson checking in. Gail had a chance to review, I think there's 7 sheets of surveys and had comments. Those comments were incorporated into the survey. So as they stand right now, I think Gail's happy with everything. The 2 foot, 10 foot issue came up. The River Alliance is talking to the zoo also because we think that we have some real property inside that, off that 2 foot line already, park benches, electrical cables, telephone poles, or light poles. And that we think that the city needs adequate room to maintain the Greenway as it stands. So we're saying, hey, look, guys, we're using 10 feet for everybody else. Can't help what the city agreed to before. We need to revisit that. That's a simple, what I'd call a simple lease agreement. The surveys are done. So if we can sort that out with Tommy Stringfellow and Kevin Garrison, his lawyer, and we're gonna work it from our end. So we'll meet in the middle and talk offline. So. Okay,
thank you, Mike. I'm glad to hear that. I know you could kind of light a fire under that group as well. So that's good that we're double teaming them. That's great.
Well, the city ordinance is going to control. So we want to make sure that that's easily enforceable, for alcohol use, for whatever the heck else the city wants to impose down there. And if it's 2 feet, that's going to be a problem, and it's going to be a problem for maintenance. So.
Right, and the zoo contends that they plan on developing that area possibly, so they're not kind of willing to give up a little more than that 2 foot. However, it's not much of an area that they can do anything with. So you all may need to talk about. However, in that, with that conflict, that kind of holds this up. So that's something that needs to be resolved quickly if you want the as-built surveys.
Okay. Yeah, the 10 foot is fundamentally federal flowway. Okay, so preserving the zoo obviously wants to preserve as much of their territory as possible. We can make the agreement flexible so that if there is some critical 1.5 feet that they need to have at a future date, the city can agree to allow them to move their fence, whatever. I think that somewhere in there is an easy compromise. The zoo wants this thing to happen too. So right now it's no man's land. So the longer it stays like this, the longer the liability's on the contractor, and not taken over and patrolled by Karen and her great crew. So
absolutely. Well, if there's anything I can do, so Mike, you're working it. Kimberly, who are you working with on the city side?
This just came up about probably 30 minutes before the meeting. So I've been on the phone with Stringfellow and Dawson and yeah. So who do I need to talk to, you or?
Well, I
Gail?
know T from our legal group was involved. Mike, you probably know that with Stringfellow and Kevin, the attorney.
Garrison, yeah.
So
Yeah, I think it was legal, and I mean, I can't remember when it was an amendment to the agreement. I think it was done last spring sometime. We weren't a party, so I didn't eyeball it. But
okay.
I think that I've raised the issue to Tommy Stringfellow by message this morning and said, hey, this doesn't make common sense to us, so we need to take a look at it. What Kevin is going on is simply the letter of the agreement that says 2 feet, therefore it should be 2 feet. And that's what he's been told to do. So
Right.
I think legal needs to be involved. I mean, the city manager signed it for the city. The zoo director signed it for the zoo. I think the power company hacked off on it, but the power company is fine with 10 feet. So.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to send me any correspondence, I'll be happy to loop legal in. I know they have like a little protected shield I can kind of wiggle around and get it to them and get it quickly in their hands and get them on board. So yeah.
Yeah, I can send that. I can send that as soon as I get off this meeting.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was about to tell you, Dana, I know I owe you an update. I just got that before that, and you were next on the list to send, but I'll send you the rest of the information we talked about.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else on Three Rivers, or is that enough for everybody?
It's enough for me. So with that, I have to leave. I've got another fire to handle right quickly. So.
Hey, thanks, Kim. Talk to you later.
All right.
Okay. So for other items of business, I just, even though it's not Greenway, I feel like it's kind of related, but we are working on reviewing an IGA with the city for some bike infrastructure projects. On the agenda, I listed all 5 of them that are in that IGA, and the intent of the city is to, I think they're coupling this with some of their other work, and then obviously the county would provide the penny funding for those particular projects. So I can't answer particulars of everything, but we just had to align what was requested with the actual referendum names and make sure we were square on the funding for that. So that'll be reviewed and sent back to the city probably by next week. With that, is there any other items or business anyone would like to talk about?
I did have one question, Mike. I think at the last meeting, we asked if the Gills Creek Greenway monthly meetings would be resumed as this project goes forward, so that Gills Creek Watershed Association as a major stakeholder can be kept abreast of what's going on with that. Any thoughts on that?
Honestly, I haven't given it much thought because we've been really focused on just getting design moving forward at this point. Definitely taking into consideration, having not participated in any of the monthlies before. It wasn't anything that would seem like it was a solid turnover item from the PDT, but I think some periodic meeting would be appropriate.
Yeah, we would, in one way or another, would like to be kept informed about some of these decisions that are being made, so that we don't get to an end point and a decision's been made that seems to be in conflict with what we and the larger community has expressed interest in. So
I understand. I think at least since my involvement with the penny and starting in March of 19 up until this point, obviously been a lot of discussion and talk and back and forth with what Gills Creek will be, what the Greenway will be. I think getting the width and the material issue resolved, the realignment of the funding to the one segment and extending that segment. I think we're pretty good with the requirements, but there's always tweaks here and there, as I understand. I think with the tree planting issue, there'll probably be some concessions with the design. I don't know, but that'll definitely be discussed. But I don't I just got a feeling that there's no way you wouldn't be involved, Valerie, whether we invited you to a meeting or not. So, let's,
Well,
continue to communicate. And if it gets too quiet on your end, just call me or email me and we can talk, okay?
okay, thanks.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, anything else from the city staff?
We're good. I'm excited about movement on the Three Rivers Greenway. Yay!
Yeah, we all are. We really are.
Open by Thanksgiving. That's what we want to do. Have a turkey day out there, right?
That'd be great.
From county staff, any other comments? Anything else?
No, I don't have anything, Michael.
Okay, well, I appreciate everyone participating. I've got next meeting tentatively for January 6th. We'll send that out when we can, trying to keep it every 3 months. And I appreciate Nancy, everything you've done, and maybe you'll continue to do in the future as a private citizen, maybe not. Appreciate you getting those minutes together from June 9th for us that were part of the invite. So we have accurate records of what was discussed. With that, I'll have a great rest of your day, okay?
Thank you.
Got it. Bring it
All
in.
right.
Take care.
Talk to you later.